Hello there. So today I'm going to be making a really nice cute top that has been seen almost everywhere, and I've fallen in love with it since, let's just say, a long time ago. And I just love the silhouette of this top. It has like nice puff sleeves, it's like nice and fitting, it has some gathers at the bust, and then it's tight at your waist. It looks amazing, and that is what you're making today. And today we're not using bed sheets, we're not using curtains, we're not using tablecloths. Today we are using the other material we usually use, pillowcases. Yes, this looks really small, and that's because it's like a regular pillowcase that measures like 20 by 30, then you multiply to the other side. Yeah, it's really small. So I'm going to try and work with that and see if I can come up with that top. I'll have like photos on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about, because it's so cute. However, I do not like this fabric because it's more of polyester than the cotton, and I usually feel that those are not comfortable on my body. But just look at the print, come on, it's really cute. And if I'd recommend fabrics for this, I'd recommend something like silk, satin, the shiny fabrics, those luxurious fabrics. I'd recommend like a really light cotton. I'd recommend like crepe. Is that how you say it? Crepe, not sure. Like the lightweight fabrics that will drape. Yeah, let's get started. But before that, if you love sewing, fashion, clothing, and thrifting, upcycling, click the subscribe button down below, and trust you me, you'll not be disappointed, and I will really appreciate it. So also give this video a thumbs up, and let's get this. Before we get to the table, we're going to take our measurements, and we're going to need the waist measurement, which is the smallest part of our waist, underbust, which is just right under our bust, and then our bust, which is the fullest part of our bust. The last horizontal measurement is the shoulder measurement, which I take from the neck to the shoulder. And now let's take our vertical measurements, which we'll take from the shoulder. So we will have shoulder to waist, shoulder to underbust, shoulder to bust. Make sure you measure these to where you measured last time. And this is our fabric, and let's get drafting. So I have a brown paper, a pen, a ruler, and tape measure so that you can see whatever I'm doing. And I'm going to start by drawing a straight line, and I do not have measurement for this, and this will act as our shoulder measurement. As you can see, my paper is folded so that I draft the front and the back together, and I will first measure the shoulder measurement because this gives me a sense of what I'm doing, which is from the neck halfway to the shoulder. And now let's take our vertical measurements. So the vertical measurements, I'm just going to be measuring from the shoulder and feeding in my measurements as I took them earlier, which is shoulder to bust, shoulder to underbust, and then shoulder to waist. If you want a longer top, you can go ahead, measure from your shoulder to your length, but my length is at my waist. After I draw in my lines, I go ahead and label each one of the lines. This just helps me know where the measurements go, and it will help you just keep track of what you're doing, and you will not be confused. And now let's feed in the measurements. I'm going to start with my bust, which I will take the measurement that I got, divide by 4, and then the same for the underbust. You divide your measurement by 4, and the waist the same, because we're only drafting a quarter of our top. And now let's work on our armhole. From my bust, I usually go up 1 inch and just draw a line. This is just so that the armhole is a bit higher, and draw in from the shoulder to my armhole part, and then I will use that line I just drew to make in my curve. And as you can see, it's just so pretty. You can draw it by hand, or you can use French curves. I joined in my armhole to my underbust to my waist. And now let's work on the neckline. So the neckline is usually 3.5 inches by 1.5. That is the back neckline. But because this top is going to have a deep v-neck at the front, for the back I'm going to extend that horizontal from the neck to my shoulder. That line I'm going to add 1 inch so that it will accommodate that width, and then I will just draw it in at my 1.5 mark at the bottom. And now let's work on the front neckline. Just drawing a straight line which will make our V later on. If you want this to touch your underbust line, you can go ahead do that, but I didn't. And now carve out your bust because your bust is not straight, and cut everything out. Make sure to add seam allowance. I added 0.5 inch seam allowance all around. And now let's work on the shoulder, because your shoulder is not usually straight, it's usually slanted. So I usually slant mine by 0.75. It depends on how slanted your shoulder is. And now you have your pattern. Just make sure to cut out that part. I have my back and my front because I cut them out at the same time, and my back piece is completely done at this point. After labeling, let's work on the front. So the front, I'm going to cut out under the bust and then cut out the neckline for the front. And now the bottom part is done, that we're calling the front bottom. And let's work on front top, because this part is where we have gathers. And to create the gathers just at the underbust, I'm going to do the slit and spread method. This is where you create lines, you slash through these lines and then spread along the lines in order to create more volume. So I'm going to make 3 lines, as you can see right here, and that is because I didn't have a lot of room. If you want your gathers to be more, create more lines. If you want them to be less, create less lines. And I'm going to cut through these lines and make sure that they can spread kind of nicely. So do not go way further to the armhole because our gathers do not go there. And then I'm going to grab a scrap piece of brown paper, and I'm going to glue my top piece there. And in between my lines, as I spread them, I'm going to have 1 inch. So I will have added a total of 3 inches. That is what I'll be gathering. So as you can see, I slashed, and now I'm spreading it, the lines apart, by 1 inch. I hope you understood that better. And make sure you glue everything together so that it does not move. Make sure it does not move, and then cut everything out, adding seam allowance. And with that, your front top is done, and we have the bottom front, and we have our back. And now we're going to cut everything out. As you can see, I laid everything on the fabric and it's cut. And I also went ahead to cut out the lining portion. It's just a white fabric, and I cut a rectangle for my sleeves. My sleeve rectangle measures my armhole times 2 plus 2 inches. And now let's work on the front. I'm just going to be gathering. I gathered it by hand, you can gather by your machine. And then I'm going to join my front top to my front bottom at the underbust and sew that together. And then I will add my back, right sides facing, I'm going to sew the shoulder seams and the side seams. This is what you're looking at so far. It looks amazing, right? And it looks like a vest, and it made me want to, make a vest. Go ahead, try it on right now, and we will attach our sleeves. I just left them kind of rectangle because it gave me a really nice look of a flared sleeve. It looked so amazing. It was unintentional, but it was cute. And I did the exact same steps on my lining. It looks really nice. And now I'm going to place the lining and the shell right sides facing. As you can see me do here, it's just like putting something inside something. And I'm going to make sure that every single seam matches up. That is the underbust seam, the shoulder seam, the side seams, and all that. Pin in place, and I will sew all around. And then I will also sew all around the sleeve. And when I was sewing my lining, I left out a little piece, a little space that was not sewn, so that I can turn everything inside out later. And for my closure, I'm going to do buttons, and this time I decided it's the best time to add up some lace trim that I had. It will help me create buttonholes because I hate creating buttonholes. Inside out, it looks so good, so amazing. I loved it. As you can see, my lace is picking out. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just perfect to create buttonholes. And I'm going to add my buttons. I added a total of 6 buttons all the way to under my bust. You can add them to any length. And once you do that, press everything and you have your top. So as you can see, I was already obsessing over this top, the buttons, I love them. And look at me, I look so good. It's giving soft girl, it's giving cottagecore, it's giving all of my aesthetics that I want to be, of course. And it's so pretty. I love it. Tell me in the comments if you are going to try this top, and if you do, please tag me. And I enjoyed making this tutorial. Whatever you want me to do next, tell me in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.